September, I taught a week-long course that I called Maisha ya Mchungaji na Huduma Yake, or the life of the pastor and his ministry. And we covered different topics, but one of the things I wanted to include was to get feedback and give opportunity for the students to ask questions of the pastors and evangelists who are doing ministry within the Fellowship of Churches. Practical questions and such. And so the last day on Friday, we took 3 hours or so in the morning. Started from 9, went to about 12, and gave each pastor, evangelist, an opportunity to stand up and share some thoughts from his experience in the ministry, and then to receive questions from the students. And Elias was the first to stand up, and he received a number of questions. Asked if he could be given a little bit of time before he responded to him. So I think it was Paulo that went next. Paulo received questions about the ministry, about traditional religions and things, and then the students asked if Elias would stand up and answer their questions then. And Elias stood up and he began to answer the questions, and then midway through a sentence he paused and began to tear up and cry, which culturally isn't. It's very countercultural for someone to cry in the presence of another, particularly a man. And but without giving it much regard, he just continued to talk through tears about the difficulty of doing ministry from day to day in a context where you're not sure where your next meal is coming from. And he had described how when he left for Bible Institute that week on Sunday, he wasn't sure what food his family was going to eat while he was gone. They had crops that they had planted, but there were things that just weren't quite ripe yet to be harvested. And so he went out to the field one last time after the church service to see if there was anything that he could harvest. And as he did, somebody riding by saw the corn that was in his field and told him that they wanted to buy it, and gave him a price and told him that they would come by and get it later, and then gave him money. And he was able to take that money and get what his family needed for the week, and he sold it without solicitation. He saw this as a direct answer to prayer and a provision for that week while he was going to be gone, going to Bible Institute. Jonas, the evangelist there in Lusalelo in the same area, shared in a recent pastors' meeting about the challenges that his family has faced in similar fashion, not knowing where the next meal is going to come from, struggling with health issues and things, and the temptation to give up ministry because you figure that life is going to be easier if you had more time to work. So as he was sharing with us in the institute, or in the pastors' meeting, and we were all sharing passages that encouraged us. He shared Colossians 1:24, which talks about, it's Paul's statement that he rejoices that he's able to fill up the what is lacking in the sufferings of Christ for the sake of his body, which is the church. And he talked about how it's been an encouraging thought to he and his wife that when they have temptations or trials that come as a part of serving the Lord in that context, that they're suffering for the sake of Christ's body, and that it's not work that's in vain. And he was encouraged by Pastor Elias when he was just saying that there was little time to do ministry, and how he was really just having to devote all of his time to trying to plant crops so that he could just have enough to put food on the table and try to get a few of his kids school fees paid so they could attend public school. And Elias really encouraged him to make sure that he deliberately set aside time for ministry each day, and shared his own example of farming in the morning and visiting in the afternoons, and told him that you really find blessing in it, and you'll see that God provides as you step out in faith. And he shared that he in the 2 weeks after that conversation had seen God's provision very directly, as he stepped out by faith and was doing what he felt like he needed to do as a minister of the Word. And then in watching God answer prayer, he was provided an opportunity to be working in someone else's field. He was hired to prepare and then later to plant that field. And he ended up working out the math, and what he thought that he could have made in a month, he was able to make in a week, because of the advantage that he had been given by being given that work in that field alone, rather than having it divvied out between other workers. And so he was just sharing with joy how he had seen that we have to step out by faith and believe God's promises that He'll take care of us, and then do faithfully what God has called us to do.